Okay, this is a big deal, guys.
This is a big deal.
This is a big deal.
Yeah.
So let's just regulate. Let's all take a deep inhale together.
Okay.
And let it go. Shaky. And we'll share this as we get started, but we really are just super grateful and honored that you're here with us, sharing this piece of yourself with us. So just want to put that into the space before we get started.
Thank you.
Yeah, it means a lot to us.
Thank you. There's no better people I'd like feel like in this way that I feel like would be a yes. So I'm honored to be here. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Well, ladies, let's do this. You ready?
Sure am.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Humanhood series brought to you by your girls, Casey Riley and
Melanie Peralta.
the series devoted to humanizing your human experience and making personal development more personal. Today, we are so excited to bring to you another amazing guest. And actually, this guest is the first one that you and I both know.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Usually, either you know the person really well or
Or you know
I do.
the person. Yeah.
But we both know this
is a
guest.
mutual friend.
And that
Mutual
doesn't
sister.
surprise me because everyone knows who
Everyone
Steff
knows
is.
Steff is. Yeah.
Truly, you are such a pillar in the Arizona Scottsdale Phoenix community. And so if you don't know Steff, you're about to. Steff Smith, welcome to Humanhood.
Hey.
Oh, so excited to be here.
Yes, we are
I'm so happy to have you.
Yeah, we are really excited for today's conversation. I feel like, as I mentioned just now, you are a pillar in our community, and so many people come to you when they need to know what's going on in the wellness space and the spiritual space, and you have just supported so many people on your journey, and we just can't wait to sit down and learn more about you and your story.
Yeah.
So before we officially get into it, actually, let's shout out our sponsor.
Yes.
Yes, I Do Experiences. Before we get into today's conversation, let's shout out our incredible sponsor, I Do Experiences. I Do is a local venue here in Scottsdale. It was originally created as an elopement space, but it recently rebranded into I Do Experiences. So you can have your elopements here, but also you can rent the space for anything. It is such a moldable space. Mel, what have you used it for?
I used it for my A Dose of Bliss, the Healed Girl House Party event. This room that we're in, I turned it into a red light therapy, like massage zen room. The groom's room over there, I turned it into what I called the cosmic corner. And I had somebody doing like readings in there. And then there was like a candlelit tea lounge in the center. We had a DJ. Like there was an area for dance floor where people were dancing and stuff. It was amazing.
Yeah, this space is really incredible. So if you are in the search of an amazing moldable venue here in South Scottsdale, check out I Do Experiences. Okay, back to Steff though. Steff, before we officially jump in, can you please just formally introduce yourself? Who are you? What do you do? And how are you helping and serving humanity and the community?
Yeah, I love that. How am I helping humanity? Well, hi everyone. I'm Steff Smith, and first of all, I'm a dog mom. I'm a coffee lover, hence I had to have my coffee today. And I'm just a wholehearted woman that deeply loves connecting with people and connecting people to people, people to places. And ultimately, that makes me a community builder. I've built community over the last 7 years, which has been such a wild journey. And overall, through hosting events and connecting with others, has created this culture where I feel like there's so much magnetism here in Phoenix and Scottsdale, where this community has its own heartbeat.
It does.
Like a lot of people are really drawn to this area. So I feel so honored to get to be someone that creates that, as well as getting to plug in with others and help them connect.
Okay, so I love what you said was you love connecting people. So when I was first getting into this space 4 years ago, I had just met Melanie, and she said, you got to connect with Steff.
Yeah.
Because Steff is in the know. Steff is your go-to girl when it comes to getting involved in this space. And then you and I connected, and now I send people your way. I'm like, if anyone's looking to be in the know of anything, connect with Steff. She is your girl. And so I'm so curious to know, just more about how you stepped into this. Like, what were you doing before you launched your first event? Because you've been doing this 7 years now, and you just celebrated your 7-year anniversary, yes?
Yeah, the anniversary was a 6-year because it took me a year and a half to launch like an official membership business.
Which was
all the
Babes and
things.
Brews.
It was, yes. So it started very, very grassroots. Like the idea came from because I deeply was going through a season of transition, just leaving a full-time work without a solid game plan. And ultimately, I knew I needed to find more purpose and meaning in my life. And that also meant in my relationships. I knew like 3 women, which is like so wild to think when you I don't even know how many women I know these days.
Yeah.
And but it came from such humble beginnings of like I really deeply needed connection, and I love coffee. So naturally, I was like reaching out to the couple women that I knew. I was like, hey, do you want to go have coffee? Like, let's check out this new, or to me it was new. There's so many coffee shops I hadn't explored yet back then, and we started just posting up little meetups. I started just throwing it on Instagram and Facebook. So it just came from this really grassroots origin of like, I need community, I need connection, and then finding women that also were in that space too.
That is incredible. So what were you doing before? What was your career?
My career. So technically it was a chiropractic assistant.
That's what I thought.
Okay. So in holistic medical, but it was one of those things that I found, and back then I was very much a person that was like, okay, what do you need? I will be that times 100. And really giving so much to create something that wasn't my own, as well as like where my heart really wasn't either. So needing to, again, it was like there was no solid plan. It was just that deep desire of like, I got to go find myself, and I got to go find people that I can really like jive with. Because I was here in, I moved to Arizona in like 2013, and was here for about 5 years before starting any of this, just to like anchor roots, kind of find my flow in some, in a place that was very new and different for me, moving from the Midwest. And yeah, just like going through the motions until like the motions weren't going, and you're like, okay, what do I gotta do?
Yeah. So when you started to feel that urge, because I think a lot of people can relate to that, right? Like sitting in a job and they're starting to get that urge of I need something different. I'm feeling this internal transformation. I want to either meet new people or try something new. And it sounds like you just kind of ripped the Band-Aid and was like, I'm throwing these meetups together. Is that as easy as it was for you? Or like, how did that process look?
Yeah. Honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm so organized.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, it's at the end of the day, it was like so simple. Like there was an intention. There wasn't really like much around it. It was like, hey, like let's go to this coffee shop, pick the time, pick the day. Like I'm very good with the logistics, which I now know that not everyone like loves that part of it. And it was just about, again, then figuring out who was wanting to come to this. And that's where I just knew a couple of people, but then they started bringing their friends or just random people from the gym, like, hey, maybe you want to come check this coffee thing I'm going to.
I met so many people through Babes and Brews.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah, like I would pop in it was on Wednesdays, right?
Yep.
Like every now and then when I could, I'd pop in. And then, like, I'd meet people there. And then as I'm going to other things, I'm like, hey, I met you at Babes and Brews. Yeah, it was just like, it was a thing.
Because we were all over. That was about me. Like, we would go to, like, basically a different coffee shop every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then eventually I started partnering with local businesses and coffee shops where we would be there for maybe the month. Just creating a little bit more structure and, like, knowing that, like, oh, okay, I can come here in the next couple of weeks. But ultimately, for the first couple of years, it was just very, like, it was all over the place.
Okay, so that was my next question. When did it turn from this is just a casual meetup with friends bringing friends to more of I'm a community builder. This is what I'm actually doing now.
Like this year.
Really? Stop.
Well, just
honestly, it took you a while to embrace that title.
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah.
It did, because you were it naturally, and everybody knew.
Yeah.
but you weren't calling yourself a community builder yet. Yeah.
Yeah, that you're so spot on. And like, was it what this year, last year? Like, it feels relatively recent because of just really owning it, and feeling really rooted in that. Where before it kind of felt like still this thing, right? Like even years later, like a little bit of imposter syndrome, or like, am I really doing this? Like, you know, and I was fully committed, like all in. But again, I feel like it still takes, you know, for some of us some time for things to really be anchored and fully like, okay, no, like and like seeing from the past of like, oh my gosh, like I've done so much. Like there's no way around it, but
It is
coming
what
to
it
that
is.
acceptance.
That is so interesting. Like it took you some time to own that identity.
Yeah.
Even though she was living it for so long already.
Yeah. Well, and just living like so many identities, like the event person, or you know, like the coffee meetup, and you know, now having shifted to different community of those that are creating community and with facilitators, right? There's been so many evolutions, and I think they happen so fast, where like I feel like even the understanding of my identity, who I am today, it's almost taken like time to catch up to with all those like shifts. Like, and you guys can relate too, like the last 7-8 years has felt like decades, like more than just that. And so even just kind of coming to like, okay, this is where I am now. And I know we're going to get into this in a little bit, but I feel like everything that I've experienced this year has really rooted into just owning it and being like, okay, like, if not now, then when? Like now is the best time to like move forward.
That is such an important message. Like, if not now, when? And just to own it. Because when I'm thinking back, when I met you a few years ago, you were more than just hosting coffee meetups. You were hosting Facilitator Circle. That's like kind of what you're quote unquote known for. Like in my eyes, you were already that community builder, already that go-to person. I just find it so fascinating that even the people who appear to have it like all together, there's still those internal dialogues and challenges we're all moving through.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what, oh no, go ahead.
Well, okay, my question is, so when you left from the chiropractor position to then starting to do the weekly meetups, I know you weren't getting paid to drink coffee.
You were spending money
You were
to
spending
drink
money
coffee.
to drink coffee
A lot of
and
coffee.
to do those meetups, you know? So what was the transition like? Because I know there's a lot of people out there who experience, you know, being in a job and knowing that there's something else that they want to do, that they're meant to do, even if it's just starting off as a passion project or whatever. But then there's that like financial gap of now I'm investing into this thing that means a lot to me and I really believe in what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, but it's not paying the bills, because we're experiencing that with this right now.
Yes.
You know, but there's like that transition that so many people go through. So what did yours look like?
Oh
So
gosh. The transition, I feel like, was so many years and so many iterations of it. But ultimately, when I think of the year that I launched a membership, it was time. Like I knew I wanted to do this full time and dedicate like all my energy and not be juggling a bunch of side jobs and like exploring all these ideas. But it really had me get more focused. Of course, when you take that, and I feel like the leap is sometimes just like one next step forward, but can be such a challenge. Then so much was coming up for me. But the beauty about community was, as I was creating this, it was not only something for others, but it was deeply like built around a space that I needed. And so I was meeting, you know, sisters, friends. I was meeting mentors. I was meeting people that brought in, I feel like, so many ideas or just ignited this spark that I could see what was possible. And then I just needed to take that time to start to get organized, create a system, create a platform beyond social media. Hence, like actually with the launch party that kicked off the membership.
Oh my God, I remember it. I spoke at it.
You were,
It was
you were on our community building speaker panel.
Yeah.
And you sang at it too. That was just like,
Oh
such
my
a
gosh, I forgot about
thing.
that.
Yeah, I still have the video.
Ah!
Post it.
Yeah. It's coming soon. And with that, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this launch party. The party was like simple to organize for me because I was already organizing things, meeting vendors, like building relationships with other entrepreneurs. It was the membership that was so hard. I remember sitting down with a couple of friends, and it was like 2 days before, and I still hadn't put it together. Was still trying to build the website. It was like so much happening. And then I realized, okay, we don't have to have it all at the same time, right?
Yes.
So just focusing on the event, which was incredible. Like, it just flowed. It was really like, as I was, you guys saw the anniversary post that I did last weekend. It was so emotional putting that together, just to like tune back into the memories and the video and the photos and everything, and just really get to like feel that, and like also take note of like, oh my gosh, like I remember how like challenging it was, but also like so beautiful, so potent. It just shifted everything so clearly. And I think, to go back to your question of what was that transition like, it was just really committing to those hard decisions of getting out of your own way, doing it messy, and just figuring it out, asking for support, even when it's like last minute of like, oh my gosh, this is happening in 2 days, like, can you help me put this together? And like, people will step up, but I think that willingness to be open to support and know that like, you're not supposed to do this by yourself. Like, don't try. Even if you feel like it's, oh, well, it's too late, or whatever might excuse be coming up, I'm just reaching out to support. And like, I feel like you'll always be surprised what comes in, and quickly, in the time that you need it.
I love that. Speaking of support, when I think of you as you were sharing that, I think of all the way your web extends and how everyone supports each other now. For example, I was hosting an event at Casa Luna, which is another beautiful venue here in Scottsdale. And I called you up like the night before, and I was like, I have a full house and I really would love some support setting up. Like, is there any way like you can swing by? Or you're like, I'll already be there. Like, I'll just pop over and help you beforehand. And it was just so amazing that I could call on someone where we all knew the same, like the venue and what was going on, and I'm already there, and it was just like an easy yes for you, and it helped me so much. And so when I think of you, I just see this web and all these people that you are touching. And I'm curious, how did you start to get into community, or cultivating community within the facilitator space? Because that's really who you connect with. Was that organic? Was that intentional? Like, how did that come about? Because that's really who is in your community.
Yeah, it was so organic, because Facilitators, which is a monthly circle that I host here at Abundant Space in Scottsdale, it was a circle that supported me during that year that I was launching the membership, and like moving through like some really challenging things that my community didn't necessarily understand, because they weren't the ones that were hosting the events. They were going to it. And so getting to be supported, at the time, Ksenia, who owns Abundant Space, was hosting this circle monthly.
Oh, she was hosting it.
Yeah, she's the OG. That's why
And
it's
then
always
you
at
took it
Abundant
over.
Space.
Oh,
Yeah.
she took it over.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So in like after 2020, and I asked her, I was like, are you bringing Facilitator Circle back? Because like, I want that space back. And at the time, she wasn't planning to, so I asked her if I could start hosting it and supporting our community in that way. And she was like, absolutely. It was so sweet. The first one, January 21, we co-facilitated together and did like an energetic passing of the torch. Yeah, it was so sweet.
I love Ksenia. I want to have her on.
I know now, but I want to hear
We gotta get
Ksenia.
Ksenia.
For her. Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, it was very organic. It was like, it just like made sense. Yeah.
Okay, something that I really, really want to like tap on for a minute is there's a lot of people who are listening who probably don't have the type of community that we have. I hear that all the time. I hear people all the time saying that they're looking for a community. And I think one of the biggest blocks that people have is even just approaching communities. But what's important about what you've shared, and even what I've experienced personally throughout my journey, is how open and willing people are to, one, welcome you in, but two, collaborate and support and help. Because I remember at the beginning of my journey, and also just even witnessing your journey, there was a lot of us and a lot of other people who were collaborating for free, who were doing things for free. And it wasn't about the money. It was just about, we all want to do something exciting that we're proud of, that's meaningful. And you'd be surprised how many people out there just want to be a part of something dope and just want to connect with other people at their frequency, at their vibration, with a shared mission, shared vision. And so if you're listening to this, just let this be an example for you and a reminder to you that there are people out there who want to kick it. There are people out there who want to help, who want to support.
Yeah.
And like people out there with good, genuine hearts and pure intentions. Like there's a lot of trust issues out there with humans, you know, and sometimes people think everyone's trying to get something. And I mean, don't be naive. There are people like that too, but solid, pure intentioned people absolutely do exist. And we've all come together because of, we're all those people. So they're out there, y'all. If you're listening to this, like, let this be an example, you know, because like you said, you were one of those people that you were like, can I continue to facilitate this? Just out of your heart, you know, you weren't like, how much money can I make off a facilitator circle? You know?
Or were you?
No, like that, but you know what I mean? It was just like, I want to do this because it means something to me. And then it meant so much to everybody else who gets to reap the benefits of it.
Yeah. And I think that's where it came from, again, another point in my moment in my life where it was like, what do I need right now? And also looking at the collective of like, I feel like we still need this, right? And then being able to hold space for it. It was something that was already created, but being able to put my, you know, kind of flavor on it, which also was its own transition. Because for almost like a year, I like was so like, no, Ksenia did it this way. So I have, you know, almost wanting to create that
Tradition.
Yeah. And then, you know, it has evolved in its own way too. But yeah, it's something that her and I still collaborate on. Yeah.
So 500 events later, 7 years later, what does it take to sustain something like this? Because I host in-person events. I know the tenacity that it takes when sometimes people show up, sometimes they don't show up, and you're like riding the waves of hosting these events. And I'm just so curious to know, like, how have you sustained this for so long?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. The first thing that came to mind was energetic boundaries.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please explain more.
Yeah, which was like its own learning process. I mean, and you probably remember some of these meetups. Like sometimes we never had like an end time, and it just like
Lingered
kept going.
on.
We're like, and you know, learning what does it mean to hold space and how to hold it intentionally too, which is honoring. Okay, when they're like creating an end time, as simple as that. But right, sometimes like when you're in the moment, you're like, oh my God, this feels so good. Like no one wants to leave, and then you're like, holy crap, it's been like 2.5, like 3 hours later, like life.
Yeah.
And then there's that scramble of like, we got to get to the next thing. So yeah, creating boundaries, whether it looks like actual time frame, and then on a personal level, just understanding like how your energy works, as well as what it is that you need. If you're someone that has a really strong social battery, amazing. But if you also know that you're someone that doesn't have that capacity as much, or if you're in a season maybe that you're like, okay, this is what I actually have the bandwidth for, even if you know what that bandwidth is so helpful. I feel like a lot of us just go through life not knowing what is our capacity, or like what do we need to actually do to start to say no or not this time. And so just checking in, like, okay, what actually feels like not only exciting but practical, and that isn't going to overextend my energy, even if it's something that I love. And I think that's been a big practice of discernment, of just, again, trying things differently and being able to say no, even if it feels like, I don't know, like, what is it that you need? Not what is it that they need and that you're capable of, but what is an actual energetic match for you in this moment?
Do you ever feel, because you're so anchored in the identity of being the connector, of the community builder, that you feel like you do have to say yes to everyone, or you do have to connect people? Like, how do you navigate those boundaries when you're actually feeling like, I don't want to connect these people right now. I don't want to be involved in this. My energetic, battery is depleted, but this is my identity and this is what I do. Have you ever run into that?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that, again, is a learned experience Where before I did feel like more of a sense of urgency of like, oh, someone needs something. And I not know the answer, but like I know someone that knows someone or something. And like I still like feel excited about connecting people to something that could be potentially helpful or like really potent for them. But I pulled back from like the need to be that person and the based on like my human design of like that saves the day of like, oh my gosh, coming
What's
in.
your human design?
Oh gosh, so manifesting generator, and I believe it's 5'2".
I don't know what any of that means.
Okay. Okay, good.
Manny Jen manifester, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Projector.
Okay.
So you guys have energy.
Yeah.
I'm
I
like,
have energy until I don't have energy.
Yeah. You have like spurts.
I have
Like
what they call
sprints.
surges.
Okay.
And that is very real for me.
okay, yeah. When you talk about energetic boundaries and capacity, that was landing so hard for me because when I first started launching events, I was like urgency. Yes to everything. Everything's an opportunity. And I burned myself out. And now I sit in the let me breathe into this and let me feel into what my capacity is. And so thank you for sharing those little tidbits with us.
Yeah. I want to speak to the process of who someone has to become to get to the point where they can hold the type of space that you hold. Because, girl, you one of my OG fans. Actually, me and Steff go way back. Like, you are, I mean, we're in a season of life where we haven't spent much time together. But in my heart, you're still one of those people that's like, you feel like a friend that I went to kindergarten with. You know, like for real. Yeah. Because we were in our infancy together, you know? And we've watched each other grow. And I've watched you evolve as a woman, as a personality, as a leader. And you had to become a certain version of yourself to lead the spaces that you lead and do it the way that you do it. Because you had mentioned, you know, holding sacred space, which is a totally different thing. There's a big difference between throwing an event and hosting a ceremony. You know, there's so many different elements to it. So who would you say you really had to become as a woman and the shifts that you had to make in your identity to get to the point from, you know, who you were back then to how you show up now and the force in the community that you are now? Because you know what's funny about you too? You're a silent force. You are. You're very subtle and quiet, but your force is still undeniable. Like, you don't have to be this huge, massive, loud personality. You're so chill and graceful, but like your power is strong and it's felt and it's in like such a subtle way. But what did you have to evolve out of so that you could evolve into who you are now?
I mean, honestly, it's kind of a simple answer. It's just to be more me and less of what I thought I needed to be for other people.
Which was what?
Which was like, I guess just the person and the identity that obviously needed to be liked, needed to be accepted, needed to produce or create something worth for other people. And so when I started to realize, even though I was creating something beautiful and magical, that when it started to feel like it was more for other people and less for me, that's when I had to take a step back. And instead of hosting, which was when I like look back on the timeline, it was nuts. Hosting like 4 to 6 events a month to now I only host a monthly event.
Wow. And
I'm still in the event space in other creative ways, but again, if you host events, you know, like all the things that goes on in the back end. And doing that gave me the spaciousness and the clarity to see where I was still, again, overextending my energy to whether it was people pleasing, whether it was to like show up in a way that I felt like I needed to, but got more clear of what I really needed to do was pour more energy back into myself to actually understand, who is this community builder? Who is this person? Just like, you know, beyond any sort of labels or titles too, and getting to explore like, what does she need now? Even though like the life that I'm creating is really like my dream ideal situation. Like, I wake up when I want to, I get to like set meetings with incredible people. I get to explore like different facets of community with both people in Arizona, outside of Arizona. But again, it's like, what do I actually need in this moment? And being able to take that time to decide, okay, it's this. And a part of it has been like the identity. Last year, I made it's so silly, but it's still like such a big deal in a sense of like debating if I was going to change my Instagram handle.
Yeah. No, that's a big identity shift. Yeah.
We all get it.
Yeah.
Why does it feel like that? It's
I
like,
want to change mine too, but I'm
this
like,
is
all
who I am.
Yeah.
And yeah, like it's like on one side it's like, this is so silly, but yeah, there's like so much around that. And when I started building community, I created the Instagram AZ Babes and Brews, because Babes and Brews was taken already, and it was like a dead account. They were not active. And the decision, because I wasn't hosting coffee meetups anymore, and it just felt like it was like, again, it's taken a year to even like do another shift, but it just didn't feel aligned. And I was like, I'm not creating like in this space content that is representing this specific community. It's representing something different. And I also didn't want it to be just a sole like, oh, it's a page or a place to go for this community. So that was changing. And so I changed it to Your Community Babe, which is more a personal brand than a community identity. But then it created this freedom and this expression to then connect with more community builders, who is who I'm serving now, who is who I was, but it wasn't that representation. And so again, I feel like these like changes, or like being able to know like who I am now, it's taken like these different little micro shifts. That it didn't just like one day wake up and like, oh, I'm gonna be Your Community Babe now. Like, like that came through in like a slower, like, okay, what do I want to explore? Like, what feels like resonant, but also like in a way that feels strong, where like, yeah, like I feel like I'm her. Yeah.
And even with that, you still have so much space to do it all, if you will. Like, you still get to be the one that helps the people build their communities, still be the one that hosts her own events, still be the one that facilitates her own community. Because I'm kind of experiencing the same thing right now, in a shift of, I'm like, okay, we talked about this in the beginning, or like a little while ago, of transitioning out of the Tony Robbins coach, and now I'm referring to myself as a generational empowerment and lifestyle enrichment coach. However, I'm feeling really passionate about serving leaders right now. So it's like, sometimes when you feel like you change the title, then you're like, now am I in the box of this title? But you don't ever have to be. You build your own box. And the box has doors, and if you want to leave out of the box for a little bit and go into another one, like, you can. So I think that's an important thing too, because when you do make those title shifts, and then you're like, okay, well then I'm no longer this, so then this is who I am now. The question is, am I putting myself in just a different box? Or is this box have so much more spaciousness in it to where I can be it all? And it sounds like that's the space that you're in now. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, but there's no boxes. I'm like, down with the boxes.
Yeah, she's like, okay, I'm just out here.
Because I think that's where like our mind just wants to like, okay, what is this thing? Like, who am I becoming next? Or what is the next event that I'm hosting, right? Like, it wants to like put in practical labels and names to something, where, again, coming back to the identity piece, like the more that I focused on, okay, who am I? Just like the essence of stuff, instead of who am I to the world, or who am I to like this group, or in my family or whatever, and just like really be more of me in all those areas.
Yeah.
Like that's been the biggest practice, and it's still a practice. It is. I feel like the idea of stop playing small and just go all out. It's, yeah, you can say that, but over time, at least for me, it's taken like, okay, how do I want to show up today? And like, even just getting to be on this podcast is a way of expressing and like creating in a bigger way that honestly is outside of my comfort zone. I mean, I love you too, so it like feels like very cozy and comfortable.
Yeah.
But again, on like the technical term, I'm like, look at all the chords and all the things that are happening here. It's like,
Totally. It's so different. One thing that was coming to me as you both were sharing is I always think about this. Us humans, we hate being put in boxes, but we're always putting ourselves in a box. It's like, don't put me in a box. But I'm a projector, and I'm a manifestor, and I'm this. But don't put me in a box. I'm an Aquarius. You're da-da-da. You know, like we keep putting ourselves back in there. But I love what you said, which was as long as you carry your essence with you, like that's the thing that sticks with you.
Yeah.
Throughout all the changes, throughout all the boxes, everything.
Yeah, it's going to be your strongest branding too. And Mel, I know you're like a big person about like really honing in on people's essence and like their true energy. And I feel like, you know, the more that we explore like what is that, and really taking like how, like you mentioned how like I'm quiet, but I still have like this like potency or whatever you had shared. And that's because I've embraced more of that quiet, of not having to be like overly expressive, because I'm not really that type of person. Like anyone that knows me, I do have more of that soft and like grounded presence. And the more that I've embraced that, which again, it's sometimes challenging to fully embrace like who you are in a room full of what you're not.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I feel like in a way, like sometimes like we're meant to be that, to be a different frequency, to also remind people like we don't have to all speak the same, look the same, like whatever. But when we do create a more diverse experience, and that can also be through our events, but even just showing up to other spaces, like that's what we need, is to see like a diverse experience and to you know, be able to express things in a way that feels true to you, even if they're different than, you know, the person next to you. And then us being able to honor that.
And own it fully.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, should we transition into what we'd love to speak to you about next?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I'm actually feeling a little tender about this topic, friend. Just because, like I said, like I've known you since 2017. I think. It's been that long, right?
Yeah.
And like I said, you feel like a sandbox friend to me.
Because it feels like that
Because
was
it
that
feels
long ago.
like it was that long ago, like truly. And so, you know, you've been living your life. I've been living mine. Everyone's been living our lives. And then it wasn't that long ago where I heard that you were moving through a journey of your own. And I was barely learning about it, pretty much like at the tail end of it. And in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, I had no idea that Steff was experiencing this. And so you've been on a medical journey. We'll have you dive into a little bit about that. But I think what felt important for us to talk about with this is because it's like, here we are talking about community and connections and just like these tribes that we build over time. And when you're a person who has spent so much of your life and your precious life force energy building community and creating these strong bonds and just making so many friends and sisters and stuff like that, and then life puts you in a position where the community builder, everyone who builds, the person who's building the community becomes the person who needs the community again, because obviously in the beginning you needed it, and in this season you really needed it. So will you just share a little bit about what your journey has been over, what was it, like the past year?
Yeah. So to just kind of really get right into it, earlier this year I had a emergency surgery that was related to my sinuses, which was an issue that was we don't know when it started because I've always had allergies, but it was something that like really manifested and just created this whole experience over a year now, probably like last April. And I think why energetic boundaries came through earlier is because realizing that while I was still starting to like set more of those, I still was avoiding a lot, and I was avoiding my health. And I was in a space of like wanting to stay busy and like distracting, and like, you know, it's easy to do that when you're connected in a lot of different ways. And eventually last year I went to go see a specialist for my sinuses. He checked out some things and eventually referred me to another specialist, but I couldn't get into them until January. And so this year, when I got in, like I think the first week of January, I saw them on a Monday, and by Tuesday I was in Banner Hospital. By Thursday I had this like kind of, to me it was like emergency surgery, because like we weren't even thinking surgery till the end of the month, but it like needed to happen quickly. And I'm glad it did, because what had happened is the incredible surgeon, he removed a like 9 centimeter tumor out of my nose. And by the time that I had seen him, like my symptoms were like, I literally couldn't breathe through my nose for months. I was losing hearing on my right side. I couldn't really sleep, probably had sleep apnea. Like I was losing all these senses, and by the time I saw him, it was like literally growing on my nose. It was gnarly. And so he escalated the surgery. That happened like really smoothly. I could literally like breathe, smell, like I sounded like myself again the day of, like just right after. And so I think it was a week later, routine follow-up, and had got in. My parents were in town for the couple months wintering, and we had gone in just to check out, like everything like looked normal as healing. Takes a few weeks to heal like that, because it was pretty much on my all right side of my sinuses. And then the interesting thing about this whole journey has been timing, like the timing of the procedure, to the timing of he had gotten some of the pathology, the lab report back from the growth, and it turned out cancerous. And so, I mean, if you can imagine, like, sitting in this little room with your parents, like, getting this news and, like, not really knowing a lot of what that is, and that opening a whole new door of healing, that was a lot. And you mentioned, like, being at a point of leaning on my community. That day, I had facilitator circle. And because they're, you know, when we're looking back at the surgery, they're like, oh, like typically after like 4 or 5 days, people go back to work or in like low dose. I'm like, great, I work from home. I've got an event. And like going to that appointment was like, okay, we're just gonna check in, make sure everything's good. And I didn't move the event because I also called in support. I had one of my closest sisters, like 2 of my closest sisters that were able to help with like setup and like any of like the heavy lifting, which there's not a whole lot of heavy lifting, but like setting up bolsters and stuff. So I felt really supported of just needing, or not needing, but just getting to show up and do what I normally do, which I could do in my sleep. But knowing that like, okay, this was going to be a day where it's also supporting me. I didn't know what it was going to be supporting me until like that doctor's visit. And honestly, like the timing of it is like, I'm so glad that the event happened that same day, because like so much changed in that moment, and it opened up a million unknowns. And to be able to go to a space where I felt deeply supported just by entering there, and so did everyone else. And like afterwards, having some of my closest friends there to be like, hey, so this is what's going on right now, and just like to hug and to be held and know that I can show up in this space and not have to like have it all together. Yeah. And that I've created something and carried it forward where it is somewhere that I can show up in like my most vulnerable state. Yeah. And yeah, it was kind of like that normalcy I needed in that moment too, because I didn't know what was going to be next, but I knew like from the weeks of like leading up to the surgery, like just things were really hard to move through. And just to have that, like, okay, just like this is the space that like I need right now. And like it was there. Yeah.
Did you, aside from your close friends who were there, you didn't share it with anyone?
No.
So as you're sharing this, I just think about everyone is walking around silently moving through something, getting news at the doctor's office, a loved one passes away, an animal passes away, like whatever it is. And we're just showing up and continuing to live these lives, and no one knows what we're going through. Yeah. And so as you share that, it just makes me emotional, you know, even thinking of you coming to this facilitator circle. And although it was super supportive for you in that moment, like knowing that you had that news on your heart, I can just only imagine how that felt, you know?
Yeah. I think like one of the things that's coming up for me as we're having this conversation is there's obviously a huge part of us that needs our community to be able to lean on and to support us and love us in that. But like you said, like you didn't share about this and you didn't talk about it. And I think another part of that is people who care about you, once they hear about stuff like this, or they immediately want to reach out and call, and sometimes that can be a little overwhelming, you know, and you're like, I kind of just want to deal with this on my own for a little while. And then once things become clearer, or once it's more at the end of the journey or something, then I'll tell more people about what's actually going on. And sometimes even just like allowing people to give you your space throughout that process. Because when I first heard, my mind is like, oh shit, I need to call Steff, you know? But then something in my spirit was just like, just let her live. Like, you'll see her, you'll talk to her, you'll connect with her. Like, she's been dealing with this for a while and you're just hearing about it. Clearly it's like a private thing, you know? So sometimes the best thing that people can do is to like wait till somebody is really ready to talk about it, instead of kind of bombarding them in the process while like they're just working to get through it. You know? But I do know that you had your partner throughout this process. And when we're forward-facing people, a lot of times people don't see the men on the background who hold it down, you know? It's like you're the one that's out here in the world, but you do have your significant other at home that holds it down and loves you, you know, at home when you're not out in the world being the community builder. So what was it like for you in your partnership as you're moving through this? Because I imagine that with you not being so open about what was happening publicly, like majority of the support that you were receiving was at home.
Yeah, it really was. And I love that you touched on the point of like sometimes we are really moving things in a personal and private manner. And for me, like you mentioned, I'm like quiet, like pulled back. Like this was so private. It was one of those things where I knew that I needed to move through, not necessarily on my own, but just in a very selective, intentional way, because of, well, people want to reach out and have the best intentions to like support. Like you said, sometimes it can be overwhelming. Sometimes people don't agree with the choices that you make, especially when it has to do with treatment. And it was coming to that realization early on of like, there's so much uncertain right now. Like I need to really focus on like what are the right steps for me, and having less outside noise, having extra opinions, or even just like, again, the good intention, but sometimes it's like our intentions aren't completely met in that way. can be really challenging. So having to move through that, where thinking that if I were to fully open up in a public way, there'd be so many questions, and like there's so many things that I need to know, and like I have still yet to learn. And so I think for anyone that has been moving through something, whether it's medical related or just like something that's deeply personal, and they feel like it has been hard to express, like there's beauty in protecting your peace, protecting your energy, and creating that spaciousness where you need to, especially in like moments that literally are life-changing and you don't know exactly what the next steps are. But yes, I had my partner, Justin. He's incredible. Honestly, I think he took it even harder, because if you think of like when something happens to the person that you love and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it, being so challenging. And that, I mean, this experience has definitely brought us closer. It created different types of dialogue of, you know, getting to explore further in our relationship, but also just like in the lifestyle that we create together too. But yeah, I'm super grateful that like I've had the support. Again, like timing wise, my parents were down here for 2 months, just happened to be during the month I had surgery, and like they were able to come in, take care of Dell, and just like be available, so that way we didn't have to, at least I didn't have to really do anything or need to do anything but take care of myself. And then, and yeah, just like sorting through, okay, what are the next steps? And, you know, a million doctor's visits and all the thing. I know you guys know, yeah.
So you don't have to go into too much detail, but what did those next few months look like for you? Because it was a cancerous tumor that was removed. So was that an official cancer diagnosis?
Yes. So that's the weird thing about it too, because I feel like for me it would have been way harder to process if it was still in me, like, because the diagnosis came through
once they removed it.
Yes. But the reality of it, because it was a very progressive tumor and cancer, and the percentage and chances of it coming back were a lot higher than it not, that's when I did decide to go through radiation treatment that was suggested. And that it did, I feel like things happened so quickly, but it also was at a very weird and slow point. Because if you think about it, I just had surgery, so I'm healing from the surgery. And then going to these doctors to see, okay, how are we going to treat this? And it was a very unique situation to have, like the type of cancer that it was inside my sinuses, which is basically inside your head. And then had extra testing done because it just was a little strange. So again, like that's even more why it was like it was like only my closest circle knew, because there was so much unknown about it. And well, it was sweet to like have people that connected me to other people that had gone through cancer. A lot of it was those that were breast cancer survivors, because that being such a like is something that a lot of people have gone through. But I was like, for me, that wasn't as supportive because it's so different.
Yeah.
And it did feel kind of isolating in those first few weeks of, okay, like we're trying to figure out what this is. I did have a really strong knowing that I wasn't going to go out this way. Like there was a lot of feelings that came up, but I never felt like hopeless. I had a really strong faith. It was more as far as like, okay, well, I have this, it's out. We need to basically treat the area that it came from. But it was just like, okay, getting clear of like, okay, what's the right treatment for me? Chemotherapy was recommended in my entire body. It didn't feel right, so I didn't go that route.
So there's chemo, then radiation.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the two options that was suggested for me. And like while I did, like mentally I was like, I want to do this holistically and like, you know, like the small chances, but really it was clear that this was the right thing for me. And when I checked like with my intuition during that visit and during a follow-up, like when we had more questions, like it was like a very solid yes. Even though like mentally, like I didn't want to go through that. I think no one wants to.
Yeah.
but it just was like, okay, like my body is saying like, yes, this is the right next step for me. And then having to trust that process, which is like the hardest part of like, okay, this is, because right, there's risk in everything. There's only certain chances that you have with, you know, different types of treatment. And, but going through that process, like there were so many signs from, I feel like even just like my guardian angels to just like the support and the team, like there was so much that like felt easeful through a very like hard and heavy process.
So you said it was an easier yes for you to choose the radiation over the chemo. Was that just an immediate knowing when you heard the options, or like how did you have that certainty in yourself to choose this one over the other versus doing both? Like, this is what I'm doing, I'm committing to it, here we go. Like, how did that knowing come to you?
Well, there's the knowing, and then there's also facts, because
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
there's both is necessary. But like even just like the way that like the visits with the different doctors went, because they're specialists in their own realm of medicine, right? And basically my oncologist said that like if you don't do this, both I and Dr. Rio, my surgeon, will be like knocking at your door to like do something. So just in taking that seriously of like, okay, and I mean, I like my coffees, I don't have the perfect diet and lifestyle, like, so I know that I wasn't gonna go like raw vegan or like something like very extreme. Yeah. So and then the doctor visit with the person that does the chemotherapy, like everything about it was just off. Like it felt like he didn't really like read up on the report, or like it just didn't seem like he knew what my case was, where the other doctor did, and he didn't feel rushed to answer questions, and it just like it just didn't it just didn't flow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then even like, because my partner went to with me on these visits, and I was like, and it's nothing against him. It just like I pick up on like these little things, right? Especially as someone that is quiet and a very good observer. And it wasn't just my intuition, but it's like, it just doesn't seem like this is the right match. And again, looking at the statistics, radiation was a more like, it felt like, I think they said that it was more suggested than the chemotherapy, but he was recommending chemotherapy with it because to further support, that. But again, lots of little things coming back to, it just didn't feel right in my body, and also observing like, okay, I don't feel like this is the doctor for me. Yeah.
Man, that is so important. I know that experience, and I'm so glad that you had that knowing and you trusted yourself, because when you're in these spaces and words like cancer are being thrown around, it could put you in a state of fear and panic, and you're like, okay, I got to do everything, or just listen to the professionals, and you know, you can really give your power away because you're operating from a state of fear and survival at that point. Right. So I think that's a really important message to reiterate to people, is like to trust yourself and your own knowing and really feel into the experience of it, because I wouldn't have picked the doctor that didn't feel like they really knew what was going on with me. I experienced that recently, and I did not go with that doctor. I was like, girl, you don't give no shits about me. I am not working with you. I'm going to go find somebody else who actually is like, feels like they care. That's really, really important. And I think it also goes back to your relationships out here in the world with people, because your social instincts and your intuition are so tapped in because of the work that you do, that you were attuned to that, and you were like, I'm in sacred spaces all the time. I'm cared for all the time. I know what the right vibe feels like, and this ain't it. You like didn't realize that you brought that with you from that, but that was like something that carried over into the space like that where you felt the energy and it was a no.
Yeah. Yeah. And then being able to really trust that feeling, and then, okay, this isn't going to be a part of it. And I feel like things just kind of fizzled out. Like there wasn't this like urgency of like this need to happen.
Yeah.
And again, this is very like personal case for me.
Totally.
Everyone's going to have their own experience and like decisions that they need to make. But because of, you're right, like it wasn't built around fear. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of worry and like a lot of like, what the hell is happening? But coming back to, okay, this is me choosing what's going to heal me.
Yeah.
And being really intentional about what that looks like and who is facilitating that, which sometimes we don't have a lot of options, but being able to know that, okay, there are options out there if you ask, if you look for it. And I did tune into other recommendations, or just like even some holistic options out there. They are very expensive if you want to tap into that. But they also exist. There's a lot of different types of support. But you get to decide what is right for you.
So this happened in January of this year, so it's very fresh and new. How has your life changed since then? Like, did you have to pull away from work? Did you have to take time off? You mentioned a few things about shifting your lifestyle around. Like, what did life look like these past few months as you navigated this?
Yeah, life completely changed. And I feel like like when you're going through really big challenges and transitions, whether it's medical or something else, like your life is never going to be the same. Yeah. And I did pull back quite a bit. So I actually started treatment mid to late February. It was 30 sessions, which it's so wild. I hadn't clocked into a place Monday through Friday since my job.
That was like go Monday through Friday?
Yeah, it was like one of the hardest parts was like having this consistency, and which there's some beauty to that. But it was like, oh my God, like I have to be here every day so mid-February to beginning of April, so like a month and a half. I'm like, okay, so luckily I do have a job where I can create my own schedule and move things around. Basically decided to like go part-time. Like I was still doing some events. I still did a Sedona retreat in March, but I timed things out where I had a lot of spaciousness, and I actually like stopped working. Like I actually gave myself the space to unplug. I didn't really show up on social media I posted a few things, but you probably rarely actually saw me as I was moving through it. And really creating that sacred space where I knew I didn't need to be anywhere or be anyone for anyone else, because I had to be all of me for me, and leaning into the support. Some of the biggest things that came through this experience was, as I was sharing to like some close sisters, one of my dear friends, Tori Christine, she was sharing about, I think it was her father-in-law that kind of went through the same treatment. And it might have been before I started it. I think it was before I started treatment. And like, I was like, okay, my body's saying this is the right thing, but they're like, of course you still question yourself, like things come up. And I was in the car, we were just chatting on the phone, and she had said that he had called radiant light therapy. And like immediately I still get emotional thinking about that, because I was like, Tori, you have no idea how much I needed to hear that, because like words are so powerful. And if you think that you're saying yes to something that basically is killing cells, so it can be harmful, but like needing to know, like I knew that this was the right thing, and that it was going to be helpful, but I'm like, but how? And then she said that so casually. I'm like, oh my God, like that is so true. Like if I can just reframe it into something else. And of course, like radiant light therapy, it's so light, it's like vibrant. To the point where like I wrote down my availability to give to the team so they could not schedule me the same day same time, same day. That would drive me nuts. But when I gave them the schedule, it literally said radiant light therapy at the top. I'm like, these people probably think I'm nuts. Or they might tell their other patients.
They're like, that's the spirit.
Yeah. But it was like that thing that I needed to like, it lightened it. Of like, no, this is actually really supportive. And again, like being able to take something that is charged, that's heavy, that like, there's a lot of unknowns, and being able to root into like, but this is for me, and this is how I can relate to this and use, like, reframe the language around it. So it is actually supporting me. And literally, like, in my schedule, it said radiant light therapy. Like, whenever I would talk about it, I would just call it that. And it just brought a lightness and, again, just a different frequency to the experience.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
So where are you now with your journey?
Yeah. Well, I'm at what I found out is that the journey, which any type of healing, the journey never ends. It continues, but I'm at a really good space where I feel confident in my health. Good. I'm clear. I had a MRI about a month or two ago, that was completely clear. So that was like the big good news. And but it's about, okay, what's life now? When you go through that type of treatment, it's your tissue and your body is changed. It never goes back to where it was. And so now it's more about proactive health, of stretches and doing things to maintain, because everything's healed up for the most part now, but your tissue is just different. So that's why I've been drinking a lot of water. Like, I still have like a dry mouth. I still have some milder symptoms that I may have for a very long time, if not ever or forever. And it's about creating my life in literally like a new body and getting to know her. And I mean, unintentionally, I've lost weight, which was kind of a fun bonus, but it was also just like...
That's what I was saying. I was like, that's a good thing.
But it is like, you know, with that, there was like needing to build up strength again. I did experience hair loss. Luckily, I have a lot of hair, so like it's not really noticeable, but I still moved through some of these really hard challenges to like come to like, no, it's okay. Like, lots changing. For a little bit, I had like really intense, like looking sunburn. That cleared up. But it's just being able to, over this time, realize for the last few years, I've been like pulling back, refining my own process, not knowing I was like training for this year to be able to fully commit to my health, to myself, and to like what we talk about a lot in the community is filling your cup first. It's like, sometimes you get to that point where like you have nothing but your cup to focus on, and that often comes through challenges, as well as, okay, then it's the opportunity to put practice into like dedication, devotion, like being able to fully commit to yourself. And I think that's why, coming back to like, when did you realize you're a community builder? This year, because you don't know how much time you get. And so to claim it and realize that, you know, this is pretty magical, like the chances that we get, and to be able to create with that identity and that understanding and that part of my journey of knowing that it completely shifted really me prioritizing myself in a way that I have never done before, and seeing that play out in really incredible ways. It's part of the wild experience, and super grateful to be here, like literally to be alive, breathing, and be here. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Steff, I cannot thank you enough for sitting down with us. I know when I reached out to you, remember my voice memo? I was like, I'm really hesitant about even sending you this message because it's so personal and you have not shared this publicly with anyone. And I'm having this urge. Would you want to share this, with our listeners? And you just so graciously responded like, yes, you're ready. You've moved through it and you're open to it. And just sitting here listening to your story and how it all unfolded and how you moved through it and those little nuggets that kept you going and kept you so positive through it and the reframes and just, so many people are struggling with health challenges right now that I know that this conversation is going to deeply move and support people. I just cannot thank you enough for opening your heart, sharing your story, and sitting down with us.
Yeah, friend. Oh gosh, I just feel like you are the epitome of grace. You're so graceful. You always have been. You have. You've always been such a graceful person. And I'm really, really glad that you had mentioned the part about just like filling back your cup, because with the responsibility of being the community builder and being the person that's always needed from others, and you're this value asset that everybody's leaning on for resources and stuff like that, I'm so glad that you gave yourself full permission to sit in your sovereignty and just being like, this is about me right now, and being able to, I don't want to say detach from the identity, but not feel obligated to continue fulfilling the community builder identity when the community builder, you, needed to be built up in that moment. So just shout out to you for doing that and being an example for other people. Because like you said, Casey, like, did you feel like you had to keep showing up as this thing? And some people do, and I've even struggled with that myself, is like feeling like we have to maintain these things outside of us while we are moving through our own personal challenges, whatever they may be, whether they're physical, mental, emotional. So thank you for sharing that piece. And I hope you guys took away a lot from this, just from her personal story as a human and as an evolving woman in her journey, but also just seeing who she is as a person and what she's been able to create as who she is, her graceful silent force that she is.
Oh, like a ninja.
Yeah, I love you so much.
Yes, we love you so much. This was an honor.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed listening to your story and just learning more.
Yeah, so how can everybody find you?
Oh, on Instagram, always at your.communitybabe.
Beautiful.
Or yourcommunitybabe.com.
And if people are interested in experiencing Facilitator Circle,
yeah, we meet typically every third Friday at Abundant Space in North Scottsdale, and it's just a great time. You don't have to be a facilitator. I feel like either you're holding space for others through your work or through your family, or you're holding space for yourself. And whatever journey that you're on in either of those facets, like, you're going to be able to be received, connect, and so supported in the season that you're in.
Yeah, my understanding of when it was developed, it was created with the intention to hold space for space holders.
Yeah.
So if you're a nanny, if you're a teacher, if you're a mom, if you're a caretaker, Yeah. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was just a deep honor, and I feel so grateful to be supported in, like, even just like sharing and expressing this piece of me. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, you guys.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Humanhood series. If you enjoyed this episode, please let us know if these clips land on your feed and anything that Steff shared with you. Leave us a comment, send us a message, send Steff a message, and be sure to rate and subscribe. We love you so much, and we will catch you next week. Bye.